Welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson. It's been probably over a year since you guys have seen this tank. Yeah, it's been a while. Probably not gonna make videos regularly anymore. Just kind of like when I feel like it. Maybe yearly updates, maybe never again. But I decided it was time to put out a tank update. So to begin with, let's start with the tank, and as we get towards the end, maybe I'll just give you an idea of everything else that's been going on in life and why pretty much I just do what I want to do these days. So here's the full overview of the tank. And from the outside, it's looking pretty freaking good. We have some problems with it, which we're going to get into. But while we're standing back, let's talk about some fish. So first and foremost, easiest to see is that big flamingo. That dude is a beast. I love that fish. He's getting a little big for this tank, I fully admit. Problem is, he's really hard to catch. And honestly, I'd probably have to tear the tank apart to get him out of there. He's too big for my fish trap, but he looks really healthy. He doesn't seem like he's stressed. He looks really healthy. So for the time being, honestly, I think the best thing for the fish is to leave him in this tank. Now, I haven't purchased any more fish in years. So anything that has died has just left, and this is still what remains. So I haven't lost too much. I lost my Christmas wrasse at some point in time. Couldn't tell you when. Right now I've got 3 of the blue sapphire damsels. Those things have just been the best fish. They're beautiful. They make their own little territories in the tank, and they have been great. I've got an azure damsel. He's doing really good. Same kind of deal. I've got 3 total tangs in here. I've got that yellow tang. That yellow tang is the first ever captive bred yellow tang. So he's from that very first batch. And I've had him for like 4 or 5 years now. And I got him from a friend who thought he was going to die. He was too rough. She couldn't take care of him. So she gave him to me. And the plan was my Scopus that used to live in my 24-gallon tank would take over this tank when he died. And if he didn't die, I'd start a new tank. Well, I never started a new tank. And the yellow tang looks better than he ever has. He's still a rough looking fish, but honestly, he looks better than he ever has, which is really cool. So the little Scopus tang, I ended up giving to a buddy of mine. So he is no longer with me. He's in a nice big 90-gallon tank where he can be all that he wants to be. I've still got 3 clownfish living in my clam and Nemo. I got him in 2006, so if I'm any good at math, that makes him about 17 years old right now, which is pretty crazy. So before we get to the coral, I figure we'll talk about the lighting. I still have I think maybe I've changed the lighting a little bit, but I'm running 3 Kessels. So these are the A360Xs. I've got 2 of the 160s, so I've got 5 total Kessels. I've got my old Giesman Teslas up there, so I've got 3 of those. And then I've got 2 metal halides, and then 4 tubes of T5. So I have some ridiculous lights on here. It's pretty crazy, but I absolutely love it. Right now, the Giesman Teslas and the halides are off for this video. I feel like I always start on the left side of the tank. So today, let's start on the right, and we'll start with my clam. This is my Squamosa clam. This clam is probably 10 years old, maybe older. I mean, this 210 setup is getting close to 10 years old. I'd have to go back and get real numbers, but I've had this guy a really long time, and it has done really well. My leathers, they're all just doing great. I absolutely love leathers. They've been really easy for me. They've pretty well fixed themselves size-wise. It's just kind of working right now. I was really struggling with this orange Pavona for a while. Kind of no matter where I put it, it wouldn't get happy. I found this spot right back here behind my clam, It's relatively low light, but good flow. I call it medium light, and it is thriving right there. It's doing really well. I'm really happy with it right there. One of my favorite sections of this tank is kind of right here where the softies, the LPS, and the SPS all kind of come together. So we got a bunch of Grandis here, and I absolutely love Grandis. It's good to keep it under control. This is on an old piece of Monipora that's grown out. I've gone ahead and mixed some frog spawn and some hammers in there. It looks great. We've got a nice little blushing leather right behind it. Kind of hard to see in this shot, but that's all right. And then we've got a hydnophora. We've got the gold leptos down here. I've kind of had to keep the hide trimmed back. You can see some of the damage on the lepto. This more SPS section of the tank is doing really good. We got lots of Monipora, got some Dragon's Breath acro mixed in there. We've got Plauistrea, we got Possilopora, we got a bunch of different brains mixed in back there. We got a lot of cool coral. We've got that alien eye pectinia right there with its sweepers out. It's all just really fitting together nicely, growing together well. And guess what? I've only dosed this tank with Kalkwalser for the last year or so. I think maybe I put a little iodine and stuff like that in there, but my main dose has just been calc, and it's working great. It's working so good, I'm not testing my water parameters because I'm lazy. Okay, it's not working that good. I'm just lazy. But you can tell by the health of the coral that something's working right. And it's really cool just to have some old school corals in here, like that pink brain right there. It was a maze brain at one point, sure doesn't look like one these days. Don't ask me why it completely changed, but it's nice and purple, it's big, it's beautiful, and I've had that since the 90 gallon. So that coral I've probably had for the better part of 10 years. Pretty crazy. Another very old coral is this green pineapple brain. I got it about the same time I got the purple one I just showed you, and it's done great. It's grows super slow, but it's always been healthy, and in my opinion, it is one of the coolest corals in this tank. It's in the middle, it's up front, it's up high, and it does extremely well. By it, I've got a couple different Blastos, which have been doing well. I love Blastos, they're just beautiful. Then we got another little brain in back. My Kryptonite candy cane is massive. This is a huge coral. It does incredibly well. It just keeps growing. It's big, it's fluffy, it blows in the water. I absolutely love Kryptonite candy cane. But normally when you see it in stores, it's little tiny frags. Here is just a huge colony of it. What makes this coral cool is when you get big colonies and it does like the whole brain look thing to it. It's really neat. My old Goldie Heliofungia died for unknown reasons, just died one day. That pretty much sucked. So I've replaced it with this green one. This green one's really cool because I grew it from a baby. I've got the mother calling and it just spits off more coral. So that thing's really cool. It's like 6 inches across, all blown out like that. And it just does great right there in the sand bed. But if you look in the sand bed, I'm getting some of that cotton candy algae. Really, turbo snails are the only thing I can find that'll eat it. So I probably need to get more of those guys. This gold hammer fell off the other day. I've relocated it. It's now in what I hope is a better spot. I really like it right there. It's gonna have lots of room to grow out, get big. Pretty nice coral, and I have quite a bit of this stuff. I absolutely love the way this rock is coming together. So we got some chalice on the bottom, and it's kind of held off by this frog spawn that's grown into it. Like this is all kind of died off because the frog spawn's tougher than the chalice, which is saying a lot because these chalices will kick some butt. In fact, this has been kind of the issue with this Monipora. This is crazy T Monipora. This is a stupidly expensive coral, and these two fight it out all the time. It's interesting to see that they've kind of come up with something that they're okay with. So that's kind of neat. Next to it, this is purple Leptoceras. This thing just thrives. I love Leptoceras.
Behind it is some Pasta Lepora that just grew up right there, but it's super green and pretty, and as long as it's not an issue, I'm gonna leave it. We've got a really nice Micro Musa back there. It's doing great. I've got no issues with it. This has been a stellar, easy coral, and I got this when I was doing the Aquametic live stuff. It was a colony that came in 90% dead. I cut off what was alive, took it home, and here we are like 5 years later. And look at it, it's just the cutest little coral. And it was a coral that anybody else probably would have just thrown in the trash. If you follow this channel over the years, you'll see I'm a pretty big Euphyllia nut, so we got a lot of frog spawn down here. All of this frog spawn here, so this, and the stuff on the other side of the tank, and some of the stuff on the side, this all grew from like 2 heads that I bought like 8 or 10 years ago. I've given a bunch of it away. I've accidentally killed a bunch, and it just keeps coming back. Like, it's almost a problem as to where to put it all. We got these green hammers up here that are doing really well. I've got more of that frog spawn over here. Here's more of that gold stuff. Here's some more of the gold stuff. We got some green frog spawn up here. This is actually the good stuff. This is Yaya mensis, so we got a piece of it here, piece up here. It's all from the same colony. And then of course we've got the gold Yayas in back. Those things are really cool. Mixed in is a nice little Duncan's colony. I've had this Duncan colony 7, 8 years, something like that. It's a long-term colony. I've cut pieces off of it, sold pieces over the years. I've done a lot of cool stuff, and I still got a nice big colony of it. And then there's my big fox coral. This thing is doing really well right here. So if you see this section of gold right above it, so that's where the other gold was that I was just telling you about that I moved. It fell into that fox coral, so that's why a couple of those heads are looking a little rough. But the fox coral looks great, and I got lots of that gold hammer, so it's all good. Biggest problems I've had with this tank were I've had some decent losses. I lost my neon marble bubble colony. That sucked. This is just a lower portion of the tank. I don't think it gets enough light. I don't think it gets enough flow. And I lost it. That sucked. And then at the exact same time, I lost the other bubble that was where that orange lepto is. Could have been I dropped some salt on it or something. Who knows? It's weird that they would both go at the same time. Not sure what caused it, but then again, I haven't been testing my water or doing my job. I still have 3 bubbles in here. This little tiny thing is all I have left of that big green bubble I used to have. That sucks. But I've got these 2 here, the green ones. They're pretty neat. But yeah, I really like bubbles, and I'm sad I lost 2 really cool ones. What I think I'll end up doing, and I haven't fully decided, is I've got some Japanese pink Nephthya. And I think I want to attach it to this dead coral right here. This will give it a great little mount so that it can grow out and up and have this kind of space right here. That Japanese pink Nephthya is a really cool coral. It's one I got from Jake Adams. It's a pretty rare coral, and I think it would actually do pretty well right here in this spot. Up top and back, I'm dealing with a little bit of algae. You can see I got a little algae on top of that green acra. That's because the water level dropped because I lost power for a while and that top tip kind of burned. But the bird's nest there is doing great. All of this stuff is doing pretty good. We got a nice wall frog right there, nice piece of money, pretty cool toadstool there. So all of this stuff is doing well. My biggest issues currently are the algae, the flatworms, and the Aptasia. So there's a quickie full tank shot. Tank's doing pretty well considering how little time and effort and money I actually put into it. So let's do a real quickie update on the 24 gallon. So everything's doing really pretty well. So that coral sitting up here, the long, tall, skinny thing, that's the Japanese pink Nephthya I would like to cut and put in the other tank. We've got that mother colony of Heliofungia in the back on the top. We got a bunch of the gold lepto down here. This Lobo track, whatever the heck that thing is, it's been in this tank forever and doing well. I thought I lost my bounce mushrooms. Amazingly, they grew back from nothing. Go figure, my zoanthid rocks have really come back well. Xenia is doing good. This chalice is doing great. I've got the leathers in here. They're all killing it. Like, this tank takes very little work, and it's absolutely stunning. This tank looks amazing. All right, so there's a tank. It's doing pretty good. So the reality is I've kind of lost my passion for a lot of things in life. Not just the tank, a lot of other things. Like, my mind is not where it was a few years ago. It doesn't work like it did a few years ago. I've been through some crazy stuff, and I'm just kind of doing my own thing these days. It's kind of weird. But when it comes to the aquarium, the reality is I've got almost every coral I really want. So I'm not really hunting for too much. Like, branching Leptoceras would be really cool. But there isn't much that I don't have that I really want. I've got some really cool coral. So it's not like the old days where I was constantly searching for coral, searching for fish. I've got the stuff I want. So it's hard to get too passionate when you're no longer looking for that next big thing. The other problem is, in reality, I can't afford this hobby. It is crazy expensive. I mean, I don't have the money to keep this thing looking the way I want to. More or less throw it into new tanks, do big upgrades, stuff like that. Like, this stuff is stupid expensive. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I could do. I've been offered jobs in the industry. I've been offered business deals, like promotional stuff. I've been offered gear to review, the stuff that would make the tank right. But I don't have that passion to go make videos, to do that kind of stuff like I used to. It used to be that if somebody offered me a piece of gear to test, I was so excited because I wanted to learn about the gear and see how it affected my fish and my coral and the entire tank. And honestly, I don't have that anymore. Like, my brain is broken. And that's part of what's going on, is literally my brain's broken. I'm not like really depressed. I don't have major issues. I just don't have the same passions I used to, and I don't have the same budget I used to. I've got a house that needs repair. I've got cars that need tons of work. I've got a real job that, I'd like a better one, but I do for now have to spend the time going to the real job, making real money, doing what I have to do. And honestly, putting a day in of overtime at the real job pays way more than YouTube ever did. So it's hard from a financial perspective to even do the YouTube channel. Like, that was always just for fun, just for passion. It didn't pay a lot. It paid enough to kind of help finance a lot of the fish and the coral that you see in the tank. But honestly, I don't need more fish and coral. I do need new gear. I would love to do a major tank upgrade. But to do that, I need money, and even more importantly, I need passion. And I don't have it, and it sucks. So those are kind of some of the stuff that I've been dealing with. So these days, I pretty much work most of the time. This tank gets maintenance when I have time and enough ambition to actually get after it. It's why we have tons of Aiptasia in here. It's why we have tons of algae in here. It's not my focus, unfortunately. It's been really hard for me. I've had to completely change my life. I've had to completely change my perspective on things. The tank was always one of my biggest loves. I still love it. I do my best to keep it and my animals happy and healthy. But the reality is I am not in a position to expand this hobby. I mean, like, as you can see, I've got no more room to add coral. I can't do it. So I would need a new tank. I'd need a bigger tank. That ain't gonna happen. So the reality is I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I work at a real job where I make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I don't have the passion for that either, but it does pay, let's call it a livable wage. It's enough to get by on.
And making that kind of money in the aquarium industry is really hard. It's not what I want to do for a living, but it's what I have to do for right now. And a real job takes a lot of time. It really does. Hopefully someday I'll get my creative juices back. I was working on a cartoon for a while. I don't know. Maybe you guys really demand it in the comments, so I'll put out what I did in my cartoon because I think it's hilarious. But, you know, I kind of lost the passion for that too, and it's a really cool cartoon, but it takes so much work. The reality is I've lost my passion for cameras, video making, aquariums. Oh my God, it's been rough. I've got a 70 GTO sitting in the garage that's broken and won't run, and I don't really have enough money to fix it the way I want to, and I don't have the passion to get after it. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. So I do have plenty of passions in life still. Like I said, I'm not depressed. My whole brain has been rearranged. And the stuff that used to be important to me is much less important. And things that maybe should have been more important to me in the past are more important to me now. So that's kind of the way things are going. For now, my focus is on my family. My focus is on survival. My focus is on my personal health. My focus is on stuff like that. And for the foreseeable future, that's just kind of how it has to go. Eventually, things will change, but for now, I got a beautiful tank. I've got everything I need. I'm getting by. I'm doing well. Things are good. They're just maybe not that dream life that I'd always hoped for. So, I don't know. Maybe this sounds negative, but it's kind of where my head is at. It's why the videos don't come out. I'm just no longer passionate like I want to be about the hobby. Do I still have the knowledge and the skills? I think so. I could totally fix this tank. Just takes time, money, effort, and those things are hard for me right now. So thanks for watching this episode of Mile High Reefers. Like, comment, subscribe. I might even do another video someday. All right, guys. We'll see you later.